Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day you're watching this broadcast. This is Dr. Eric Tangumonkan with IEM Approach, where we inspire, equip, and motivate people to discover God's great potential in them, develop that potential, and deploy it. I want to use this opportunity to thank you for joining us and to encourage you to share this broadcast with your friends, with your colleagues, and other people in your network. Encourage them to come on board so we can have this conversation together. If you are watching or listening via the IEM Approach podcast, I want to encourage you to send your feedback to me as well. The number is 214-908-3963, 214-908-3963. If you rather use the email, it's eternalkingdom101@gmail.com. eternalkingdom101@gmail.com. I promised that for the next 52 days, I'm going to be sharing 52 different strategies that will position any immigrant anywhere in the globe to succeed. I'm glad you're listening to this. If this is your first time of joining us, we're going to be looking at the 20th strategy. I encourage you to check out the past 19 episodes for the other 19 strategies we've already discussed. These are 52 different areas of your life I want you to be thinking about and doing something in those different areas. When you get up each day, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing regarding learning, regarding asking questions, regarding expanding my network, regarding learning other cultures, regarding, as we're going to see today, writing a book. Before we talk about writing a book, I want us to recap what we heard yesterday about you taking ownership of your story. Because writing the book, as we're going to see, is tied into your story. You have to start, as I said in the last episode, by taking ownership of your story. Own your story. It's your life. It's where you've been. It has what you need in there for the next phase of your journey. One of the most important benefits of writing of taking ownership of your story is the inspiration that your story brings to your listeners. The other one is that embedded in your story are the tools and the resources that you need for the journey that is ahead of you. And lastly, refusing to come to terms with your past or embrace it is allowing your past to hold you down and rob you of your future. You have to write your story, because it is in writing the story that you are going to have clarity. You will be able to connect the dots. You will be able to organize that story in a way that is going to make it very easy for you to share with other people. You'll be able to discover the resources and the tools that you already have when you sit down and put in the time and the energy and the effort to write your story. You don't need to be a literature major to write your story. You don't need to be an academician to write your story. You don't need to be rich and famous to write your story. You don't need to have lived very long to write your story. You don't need to be famous to write your story. You don't need to be old. You don't need to be young to write your story. Now is the right time for you to write that story. Most people say that they are going to wait until the end of their life when they've figured out everything before they will tell their story. It may be too late. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. That story is needed right now. You've moved into a different country. There are many stories that are being told. You need to add your voice to the other voices. You need to bring your own flavor on the table. We are living in a day and time when it's very, very easy for you to write your story and make it available to the entire world. The World Wide Web, print on demand, has made it very easy to write your story and disseminate it. It's very important for you to write. Remember, most of what you are doing right now is very temporal. If you don't document, if you don't write your story, when you leave, when you exit this stage, what are we going to remember you for? However, one way for you to immortalize yourself, one way for you to continue speaking, even when you exit the stage, is for you to write your story, that book, the book of your life, what you've been through, where you are going, what makes you tick. Now is the time to write that book. Now is the time to pen that story. We've already heard that nobody's story is boring, because some of you are saying, nobody knows me. I don't have anything to share. My life cannot inspire anybody. How did you arrive at that conclusion? It's important for you to understand that the power of the story is not in the drama. However, if you've already moved as an immigrant, your story is already dramatic. There's already a lot going on in your life. And I want to encourage you to capitalize on that story. Not only take ownership, but document it. Write your story. Write your first book, the book of your life. It's important for you to do that. The power of the story is in the telling. And there are lots of resources today. If you don't know where to start, you can ask for help. I can help you. I coach people to write. Let's have that conversation. We are going to help you put your story together and get it into print. In addition to speaking, in addition to inspiring, in addition to writing, I also operate a publishing company, IEM Press. We inspire, equip, and motivate people to tell their stories. Stories are so powerful, as I'm going to say. Stories are so powerful. You are having this conversation with me today because of some stories that I heard when I was in 7th grade. Among all these stories, that of Lexon Kaira stands out. It inspired me profoundly. And how did I meet Lexon Kaira? I did not meet him in person, but he spoke in my life in a very profound way. Lately, I did a little research on him to see if he was still alive, for me to tell him how impactful the book he wrote impacted me. I was in Cameroon. Lexon was born in Malawi on the other side of Africa. We never met, but we met through the story that he wrote. Lexon's life was also inspired by the story of Abraham Lincoln and that of Booker T. Washington, told in his book, Up from Slavery. He got up one morning on October 14th, 1958, and told his mother, I am going to walk my way to the United States of America to further my education. We are talking about a 9,600 miles journey. And all he had with him that morning was the Bible, the book Pilgrim's Progress and Acts, and a bag of flour. His mother thought walking to America was going to take him about 5 days. So she put together some supplies for him. This sounds crazy and mind-boggling, but it's a true story. Imagine this guy in East Africa gets up in the morning and start walking on foot to the United States of America because he was inspired by the story of Booker T. Washington and the story of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States of America. He took the first step and the second step, slowly left his village, crossed over from Malawi, back then it was Nicer land, into Uganda. It took him a long time. He kept pressing on. When he got to Uganda, he had to get some odd jobs. Finally went to the library in Uganda, found a school out in Washington State, applied, got admission, but he was not having the money to cross over. That school heard his story, mobilized the community, and people stepped in. He left Uganda, went up to Sudan, and from there he was able to cross over into the United States. When I read that story, I did not know that a day will come that I too will step out in faith in pursuit of higher education, and I will find myself in the United States. Those stories came back to me, plus the faith and confidence that I had in my Heavenly Father. I want you to picture the impact that your story is going to have on the next generation, that you continue speaking after you've left. You don't know where your book is going to go. Lexon had no clue. His book was going to go around the globe and end up in Cameroon, where I read the book. If you are still doubting if you should write your story or not, if you should write that book or not, just write it for your family. Write it for your kids if you're having children. Write it for them. You want to document. When you write the book, it's going to be set in stone. There are lots of benefits for writing that book. It's going to open doors for you. You could make some money by selling the book. All those are secondary. The most important thing are the lives you are going to change. You may be doubting if you have what it takes for you to write. You do. People have already been asking you about that book. Each time you are asked, where are you from? Why did you move? It's a story people want to hear. You already have the story in you. Just sit down and put pen to paper. You can type it away. If you don't know how to type, you can write. And other people will transcribe it for you. Now you may be wondering, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to tell my story. That is why some of us will come in to help you to do that. There are many other people, many services out there that can help you put that story together. But I want you to know that one of the most important contributions you are going to do as an immigrant, and that is going to place you on the path to success, is for you to write a book. Don't be surprised. After writing one book, as you're going to see, you may write the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. But you need to start with one, and that one book is your story. People are waiting to hear that story. There are people that will only be inspired when they will hear you, when they will hear your story. There is no immigrant who is not having a dramatic story. No single immigrant. Don't downplay your story. Take ownership of it and write it. Don't just talk about it, write it. That is the only way you're going to immortalize yourself. That is the only way you're going to set that story in stone. If you need permission to write your story, I give it to you now. You can write it. Now is the time for you to go to work. I'm going to show you a cross-section of the books I've written. My background is in geosciences. I'm not a literature major. I'm not an English major. But I started with my first book, Coming to America, A Journey of Faith. I was motivated to share my story. And after writing this first book, I've written 19 plus books, counting. I'm just going to show you a cross-section of the books today. Here you go. I have a bunch of them here. This one is from Cameroon, from Cameroonian to American citizen. It's part of my story. You have here, what do you have? The secret of exponential growth and productivity. You have a story. People are waiting to hear it. Can you start with your story? It's going to open doors for you. God's supernatural agenda. 7 secrets to lasting wealth and prosperity. When you align yourself with God's mission, God is going to provide all the resources that you need to accomplish that mission. The question to ask is not, how much money do I want? The question is, what is the size of my assignment? The bigger the assignment, the more resources you're going to need. What is in your glass? Pentecostal Christians and the hidden dangers of sugary drinks. If you don't drink alcohol, great. But putting sugary drinks in your system is not being smart. Sugar is a killer. Sugar sucks. Phones, electronic devices. Who is in charge? Marriages are being destroyed today because the husband and wife are on their phones all the time. When I'm in class, most of the students I see who are struggling are those who cannot control their electronic devices. They think they can multitask by being on their phones and listening to lectures at the same time. It doesn't work. If you are scared of teaching online, if you haven't taught online, how to inspire our online students. 7 steps to achieving unparalleled success in an e-learning environment is going to help you out. Racism, where is your sting? A provocative look to the beginning and the end of racism is another resource that is going to be of great help. The priesthood of every believer. If you're a child of God, you're God's priest. You don't need anybody's ordination. You don't need anybody's permission to act and function as a priest of God because you are already. For every excuse, there is a solution. This is a call for you to start looking at all those excuses in your life as opportunities to make a difference. If you can make an excuse, you can provide a solution. Enhance your marriage. There are 3 legs in marriage: sex, communication, and money. We add the 4th leg for stability, and that is health. Without health, nothing else matters. Without good health, nothing else matters. As a couple, learn to support, to encourage one another to exercise. You're going to love it. To exercise or not to exercise, the connection between physical exercise and spirituality. Some say physical exercise availeth little, and because of that, they don't exercise. Let me tell you, that little is great. If you're not taking care of your body, sooner or later, your spirit will get out of that body because it's become too toxic for it. You know what that means? You will be dead. I have one here. Where is your home? This is a call for all immigrants who know God to actually know why God moved them in the first place. We've been talking out of this book here. Welcome to America, 52 proven strategies that will position you to excel as an immigrant. That is just a cross-section. Some of the books that I've written, and there are more that are coming. When we'll be done with these 52 different strategies, we're going to actually dive into some of these books. We'll have a conversation that is going to help you have holistic success. Remember, nobody owns your story. Nobody can tell your story like you. You're already equipped to tell that story. So do it, take ownership, and write that book. If you need help, help is available. Let's have that conversation. You've been listening to Dr. Eric Tangumonkem with IEM Approach, where we inspire, equip, and motivate people to discover God's potential in them, develop that potential, and deploy it. Until next time, stay tuned, and God bless you.